Good evening.
Good evening.
Facebook family. Welcome to episode 15 of Couples Coaching 101. And this week, our topic is
Next Level 2.0 Part 3.
Next Level 2.0. So, taking your relationship to the next level, Part 3. So, before we get started, we like to always start off with our disclaimer. First, this is a public forum, so anything that you say or post or comment on, it is public and all can see it. So, please be mindful of that. And this is couples coaching, not counseling or therapy. So, if you have a private matter, please send us an email to lifewithoutlimitscc@gmail.com. And again, that's lifewithoutlimitscc@gmail.com. And be sure to share, post, and like the video once it's all over. So we're going to get started with part 3, jumping right in. Hey, Miss Bird. Get started right in with our topic for tonight, taking your relationship to the next level 2.0, part 3.
Okay, so we've covered a lot over the last 2 videos, and so this is the 3rd video, and so I'm gonna just jump right into it because normally what tends to happen is we tend to run out of time.
Yeah, we usually run out of time. That's why this is 3 parts.
Okay, so point number 1 for this week is identify the strengths in your partner that you love. And I think that's important. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I figured out is, we've heard of the law of attraction, and you get what you focus on and what you put energy to, you bring life to. And so same thing works here. So emphatically declare what you love. Mm-hmm. So, always be talking about what you love about your partner. Because it makes a difference and they can feel the difference. Point number 2, under point number 1. So that was A. So B is see the positives. I think sometimes, it takes creativity to see the positive sometimes. Mm-hmm. But in every situation, sometimes some situations it's a lot harder to see the positives, but there are usually positives hidden somewhere in there, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so see the positive, and then C is speak the positive. So you want to speak those positive things about your partner.
Absolutely. Right. Speaking them gives energy to it. It gives life to it. And even if they're not exactly where you want to be, but you see improvement in that, you speaking to that goes right into the next thing, which is to reinforce the positive that you do see in your partner. And by reinforcing, what we do to reinforce is you need to be specific about whatever that item is. So if it's like, man, I really like the way you wash the car on Saturdays for me, it shows me that you appreciate me driving a clean car, and I appreciate that. So that's a positive way to reinforce the behavior or the thing that you actually like, that you see as a positive in your partner.
Right. And remember too, everybody has their own way of showing their love for their partner. And it's just a matter of digging and finding, those things. Mm-hmm. I remember I was reading this book by Russell Simmons, and he said, the 22, 23-year-old kid shows up for the interview on the job, and you think, well, he's being disrespectful because he doesn't have on a suit. He said, but what you fail to realize is he's got on a pair of $250 Jordans. He's got on a $150 pair of shoes, and he's wearing a $100 shirt. And so there are positives hidden in just about every situation. So it's just a matter of digging those things out and really appreciating. And when you appreciate, I can think about, just all the positive appreciation that you get. It tends to make you want to do more of it.
Absolutely.
Right? It tends to make you want to strive. I can't remember who it was, but they said, give your partner a name to live up to. I believe in doing that for your children too. Give them a name to live up to, and they will live up to it.
Absolutely,
right?
Absolutely.
So, so the last point under identify the strengths in your partner that you love is spend very little time talking about what you don't want. Okay, and I think it's so easy to do, especially when you've been bitten by previous relationships, and so you could very easily go down the road of, well, I don't want to be taken advantage of like I was in my last relationship, or
just flip that around and speak what you actually want.
Right.
I want to be in control and have power in my relationship. If that's what you want, versus giving energy to that negative thing that you experienced in the past.
Right. Again, the law of attraction. All right. And so the second point is in your partner, a lot of times, okay, and I'm going to say this, know that you didn't make a mistake. Sometimes I think we get into relationships, and what I found is that when it comes to relationships, you usually got it right. It's weird because I've seen people enter into a relationship, maybe get married, separate, divorce, and their next partner that they get into a relationship with is very similar to that last partner. A lot of similarities. In some regards, in some situations, they even look alike. Okay? And so, and what I've observed is that generally people don't choose a different partner. Usually they choose the same person over again.
That's right.
So now, let me say this. That's without work. Okay, I believe that, when you have a failed relationship, it tends to make you want to look inside and figure out, okay, where did I go wrong? What did I do wrong? Learn from it, and then allow that to help you choose another partner. And so when those red flags come up, when that dude, when he asks you, well, where you been? Like that. And initially you thought, oh, he just loved me, and then now that maybe he could have some controlling tendencies, right? And you kind of shy away from that, right? You say, I'm gonna leave that alone altogether. All right. And so, but just know with relationships and basically, if you want something different, then you have to do something different, then you have to change. A lot of times, and that's the point, you have to change for your partner to change. So if you want something different, then you've got to do something different.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, bruh. And so if you want something different, then you've got to do something different.
You got to do something different.
A lot of times people respond to us. It reminds me of the story I heard about a grandfather who was asleep, and his grandson put some of that smelly cheese. What do you call it? Like blue cheese. He stuck it under his nose.
Oh, wow.
And so the grandfather wakes up from his nap and he looks around and he said, "This room stinks." And then he walked downstairs and he said, "The downstairs stink." And then he said, "The house stinks." And then he walked outside and he said, "The world stinks." Well, is it that the world stinks, or is it just that you've got some smelly stuff under your nose?
You got some smelly stuff under
And so what I figured out, a lot of times life is a backdrop. It's a neutral canvas. And you paint on it what you want.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
And so if you want something different, then you have to do something different. And that, it's so cliche. But really, it's true. Think about it. If you're having challenges in your relationship, and the problem is 100%, 50% you, 50% your partner, but you reduce your 50% down to, let's say, 45%. Now, it sounds like a small thing, but guess what? It makes a big difference.
Absolutely.
And the problem goes away. Because usually problems are usually like right on the fence, and a little improvement will take the problem away altogether. Right?
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
And I said this already, some people go from relationship to relationships looking for something different. You know, sometimes at some point you got to dig in with the relationship that you have, okay? Because if you don't make mistakes, then dig in and figure out what you got to do to grow.
Absolutely.
To grow that
Particularly
relationship.
if there are kids involved. You got to figure it out, you know, what it is that you can work on, that you can improve for the sake of the family and the family growing and staying together. And then, you know, you can turn that relationship around, but you definitely have to both want to be in the relationship and work on it.
Yeah, I know this couple, they were having problems and they went to therapy and they stayed in therapy, not 3 years, not 4 years, but 5 years, okay? And so you do what you have to do to make it work, especially if you love that partner. And if you get it right, which most of us do, then you know what? Everything you want and everything you need is in that partner. Your emotional healing is in that partner. Okay.
Absolutely.
So let's move on to point
Next
number 3.
point. Move away from your immediate family. Now, I mean, you don't physically have to move away, but you might just need to. In some cases, you do need to physically move away. But you don't have to necessarily move away. You just do need to create some kind of barrier between you and your family. So what does that?
Let me jump in here and say this for a second.
I just got started.
I know you just got started.
Okay, go ahead.
But for us, we moved away, but it was probably more because I was in the military. So I took a different duty station, and it moved us away. But I think it's one of the things that really helped our relationship in the beginning.
Okay.
Go ahead. I just want
All
to say
right.
that.
So sometimes moving away might just mean keeping your family out of your business. You have an issue of concern, not immediately running to mama, papa, sister, or brother and telling them that problem that you're having with your partner. You know, doing so, for example, if you share something that you're really upset about that really may make a difference in your relationship in terms of how your family look at them, you and your partner, your husband, your wife, y'all already made up. Y'all have moved on, forgave each other, y'all back lovey-dovey. But the next time you come over to the house or the cookout or whatever, your family is going to be looking at your partner with the side eye, and they may begin to treat them differently, which can impact the kids and the relationship as a whole, which typically just cause more problems within the family. So how do you keep family, out of your business? First of all, can the family do something about the problem or the situation that you have? Most of the time they can. If they can't really do anything to alleviate that situation, oftentimes they don't need to know anything about it.
And you know what's interesting for me is I was really close with my mom, and I still am with my mom, and so I had a natural propensity to just kind of share things that was going on in the relationship, with my mom. And it was just because that's what I was used to doing. Yeah. And so sometimes it's just the habit. And so I had to learn to like bite my tongue and not, and it was difficult. It was really,
sometimes
it's kind of hard.
Sometimes it's just idle talk. And
Right.
you're just talking and
That's true.
shooting the breeze, and you don't even realize that you just told all your business that you probably really weren't going to tell anyway.
Right.
So sometimes we have to be really careful in those moments when it's idle talk. But most definitely, that's the main thing. Before you share something, ask, what's the purpose of me sharing it? Is there a true benefit to me? Am I going to get some wisdom or some guidance in some kind of way that's going to help alleviate the problem or the situation? Sometimes we just need to reflect and talk things out with someone. That's true, but oftentimes it's not best whenever it's your family. So the other thing is to make it a point to protect and defend your partner, and basically doing the opposite of really sharing a negative or a fault or something that maybe they need to work on. You know, a way to do that is to reinforce the positive that you see in them when you are with your friends or family. You know, one of the things that I always say about George is I like the fact that he has always been a great provider for our family. And you know, and I'm the first to say that, listen, he's cheesing now. And, you know, and I'm the first to say that, you know, we both work and we, you know, own businesses and things of that nature. But he is truly the breadwinner and the backbone that holds our family together. I always call, I won't say that out loud. I was just thinking about my check, my stipend. But anyway, make your partner your emotional rock. Make your partner that person that you go to. And you know what? If it's something that's really bugging you about them and you all can't sit down and talk about it and you can honestly say that I have some concerns about this. This is how this impacts me. This is how I feel about this situation when you do X, Y, Z. And if you can't do that,
and in doing that, try to find a time. If you can't
do that, that's a challenge in the relationship. So you have to address it.
And in doing that, try to find a time when you're not emotional about it.
Yeah.
Okay. Because if you get all emotional, guys, if you're getting emotional, you can get scary, okay? I know when I get emotional, sometimes, you know, my voice goes up and, you know, my muscles flex and all that stuff, and that gets a little scary. Right. And then for women, you know, your voice goes up and you know, and it's just not good.
Yeah.
And if you're
not going to hear each other.
Right, and you're not going to get anything solved.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay? So you gotta, both of you have to be at a point where you're willing to hear what the other person is saying.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Did you want to say something more about that?
No.
Oh, okay. All right. Because I know you had some other notes. I know he had to get that note in so he wouldn't forget it. So basically, I know we had somebody else that said something earlier that said, keep folk out your business. And that is so true. I mean, we just have to do it. I mean, and it doesn't mean that you have to be fake, but, you know, it's not meant to share any and everything. And truth be told, you know, if you have some special project or goal that you're working on as a family, everybody doesn't need to know that. You don't know always who's for you and who's not.
Right.
And that energy makes a difference. They may not make an overall difference, but the energy that is put out there in the atmosphere does make a difference.
And, you know, this is kind of a side note. I believe in doing the same thing for your children, okay? Your son got suspended today. Don't nobody need to know that. Grandma don't need to know he got suspended. Auntie don't need to know he got suspended, okay? And so... you know, you do the same thing with them. You know, you protect them as well. And it's not that you're lying, but you're accent. When people ask you, well, how's your son doing? Or how's your daughter doing? You know, it's the same thing. You know, it's edification. You find some positive things to say because really it affects your energy. Absolutely.
Absolutely. So next week, first, before we get into next week, we want to give you the tablet for the week.
Oh, I didn't know you wanted me. Okay, because I had a couple more points over here.
No, we don't have time now.
Okay.
I just gave you a minute.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, we kind of went over that. You said the children.
Well, as a notable, and if you've got an ex-partner or a baby's, or your baby's mother, or another family that's intertwined with your family, a blended family, then it's the same thing, the same rules. So you don't talk about, you know, your current relationship with your ex relationship. Absolutely. If that makes sense.
Absolutely. That does make sense. So for the tablet for the week, we want you to come up with some alternatives to including your family in your relationship. And this is with regard to issues or problems. So do you need to see a counselor or a coach or somebody to help you think about things differently? Do you need to learn a new coping skill or coping strategy other than running to your immediate family or, you know, your siblings? Do you need to just go for a walk and reflect on things? Sometimes we just need to vent And that's okay. But if we go for a walk and reflect and think on that, a lot of times we can vent on that walk and we feel better about a situation. We may come back with some solutions. So just stop and think. If there's no real benefit, if they can't really help alleviate that situation, it's probably not something that needs to be shared. And then just talking about keeping folk out your business, and I guess in social media and all that sort of thing. Next week's topic, we're going to be talking about the rules of social engagement. And basically what that is going to focus on, and this came off as, I'll share next week how the topic came about. But basically this is going to be about what are some do's and don'ts for texting, do's and don'ts for emailing, calling people of the opposite sex, and you are married in a committed relationship. Because just because the world and Hollywood is so gray in areas doesn't mean that we have to be. And so we want to be honorable in all of our interactions with people. So we're going to talk about some do's and don'ts next week, some pros and cons, some do's and don'ts with regard to digital communication, cell phones, texting, social media, that sort of thing. So next week, the rules of social engagement, and this week for your tablet to come up with some alternative things that you can do versus just telling your immediate family about any problems or situations that you have. So please remember that this is a public forum. Anything you share, post, and comment on is public and all can see. And if you have a private matter that you would like assistance with, please send us an email to lifewithoutlimitscc@gmail.com. And please like, post, and share these videos. We thank you so much for joining us tonight, and we look forward to seeing you all next week. And remember that we empower the people that build the relationships.
God bless you.